Hey there, it's Eric J. Olson with another live episode of the Managing Partners podcast. And today I have a guest with me. It's Andy. What's happening, Andy? How you doing?
Hey, very nice to be here on my first podcast appearance, Eric.
All right. This is great. No, I have a feeling this is going to be the best one for you.
Nowhere to go but up, right?
That's right. We're already off to a good start. So, well, hey, Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself and your firm and what you guys do.
Great. I am an intellectual property attorney by practice. I focus primarily on trademarks and copyrights. My training came from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, where I worked for several years before transitioning to private practice, first at an IP boutique in Southern Connecticut, and now with Murtha Cullina, which is my current firm, where I've been the managing partner for now all of 3.5 months.
3.5 months.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Murtha is a general business firm. We are centered in Connecticut. That's where the firm's roots and history are. But we have a pretty substantial presence in Boston as well. We cover, I think, most of the things you would expect from a general business law firm, commercial, real estate, corporate. But we have out of that general business practice, we've sort of added on pieces to serve ancillary areas from those cores, like trust and estates, litigation, intellectual property, which is where I come in, and immigration, and a few other sort of add-on pieces, so that we can be as full service as possible to the business clients.
Okay. Do you focus on a particular industry or sets of industries when it comes to business clients?
No, I think most of the firm's practice, although not mine, is fairly locally focused on the institutions in our home areas in Boston and in Connecticut. My practice as trademarks tends to be more international. I'm as likely to have a client in Japan as I am in Connecticut. But across that, we serve pretty much any industry that has needs in our areas. Connecticut is maybe less of a manufacturing hub than it was 40 or 50 years ago. And the firm's transitioned with that, very heavily invested in educational services, working with universities, the financial sector, working with hedge funds, venture capital, and private equity funds in all manner of services to help them. And generally sort of the knowledge economy that more now than ever drives Connecticut. We have a big emerging companies practice where we work with pretty much everyone in the startup ecosystem. We have actually an office, satellite office in New Haven, inside a co-working space, where up until March of 2020, people could just stop by. We'd staff it with a couple of people every day, and entrepreneurs could stop by and just chat, and without getting a fee, just get a little bit of a sense of what their legal needs might be. So that's a kind of a fun, interesting way to service what I think is a really important part of Connecticut's business community.
Yeah, I did something similar. When I first started my business, I was working out of an accelerator, another word for an incubator, and they had people running through all the time, startup businesses, but then also established businesses were coming in to like mentor and help them. And so it was a really good source of leads for me, for sure. Have you found that as well?
We have, and we have special pricing programs for those entrepreneurs, because we recognize that the banking client that's been around for 50 years and the company that's started by someone who works at a bank and really wants to quit their day job have very different needs and very different pricing abilities and budget abilities. And we still need to make money. We're a business, but we can structure things in a way that allows us to give them services up to the point that they need, say until they get their first round of funding. And we hope, of course, that the relationship grows with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, very cool. All right. One of the things that we like to explore a lot on the podcast are trends that people see in the legal industry. Are you seeing things I mean, certainly, like, technology, working from home, is a big trend right now. Are you seeing, like, other trends, either financial or legal, that are affecting your clients or your business?
I think that all the trends that were in place from, say, 2015 to 2020 just got accelerated massively in 2020. So the pressure on legal pricing and the demands from corporate counsel for alternate fee arrangements, fixed fees, split fees, blended fees, all those things that were being talked about a few years ago are now just part of it's now expected. Remote working, a few years ago, law firms were willing to do it for some people. Now we are put in a situation where, of course, we've had to be remote for a year, and we've learned what we can do remotely and what we can't do. Um, managing virtual business development and virtual hearings and managing ourselves in a virtual environment. The law is really, really slow as a profession to adopt new technology. The model up, as recently as a couple of years ago, I had to fly out to San Jose, California for a 15-minute scheduling conference with a judge. Um, Unbelievably expensive for the client, but it's the first time in the case where I'm in front of the judge. I can't not be there. I can't just send local for that. Now, on a dime, all the courts have to switch, and I don't think they're switching back. We, as law firms, we've now got to up our game to be better than that. We're spending some money building studio space inside our offices. We have more offices empty now than we did before because people aren't coming in. So we're tasking some of that to making proper studio space so that the lighting is right, the mics are right, because at some point we're going to have a hearing in front of appellate judges, and we can't look like we're in hostage videos.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Dark lighting, right?
Yeah,
Bright light behind.
right,
Yeah, that's not a good combination. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, you have good lighting on you. I am facing a wall right now, so I have to have a ring light in
right.
front of me, and it makes a big difference, right? So it's smart that you're thinking about that and probably going to convert some of those vacant offices into basically video rooms.
Right. And then with that, we want to encourage our people to start making capacity, taking advantage of that capacity. So there may be matters that aren't worth writing a whole client alert about, but maybe it's worth doing a 2-minute video post that we'll
Yes.
put up on the site, things like that. But those are all things that we thought about, that we sort of had in our mind, and the pandemic forced us to really move forward quickly, and we couldn't move as deliberately as lawyers like to move. We were forced to move incredibly fast, and then it turned out, yeah, we can do a lot of stuff. We're better at this than we realized. Our staff and our teams are way better than this than we realized, and now it's a matter of taking the opportunities that made themselves available during the pandemic and making the most of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's really, really smart. It also seems like it's a good idea when there's a place established and all you have to do is bring your laptop.
Right.
Like so, for my spot right here, I've got the microphone. It's on a little arm, but it
Right.
never moves from here. But I don't work from here. I work from over there. So
Exactly.
I just come over. I turn on the ring light. I plug in the microphone, and I'm good to go. And so
Right.
it makes it simple. So I would think it'd be the same thing for your attorneys. That's a good idea. Yeah, interesting. What do you think about? They call it like they're not video trials, but testimonies or hearings, video hearings.
Right. So we actually had, when the pandemic happened and the courts in Connecticut were shut down, we were one of the firms that the Connecticut courts asked to help them practice for virtual hearings. They took some old cases and they contacted some firms and said, we'd like to redo the arguments and practice our own tech and test our tech. And we did some of that with them. So the appellate hearings are the easiest because it's just a fixed number of judges, a fixed number of lawyers, it's questions, it's answers. Everything below that gets more complicated, where you have witnesses, you have to have people sworn in, you have exhibits. But again, the technology's been sitting there. Technology's been sitting there, and we've just been very reluctant as lawyers to use it. We've had CFOs who've been telling us for years, you don't need to travel everywhere. You can do this remotely. Yeah. They've had their pencils sharpened for this moment for a really long time. And now that the courts have allowed it, you're seeing very effective depositions being taken completely virtually. There are trials being done completely virtually, complex trials. There are hearings of all kinds. Some things are probably still best suited for live testimony, but there are huge economies of scale taking place in the courts now, like there haven't been since the photocopier. There are instead of going to court for a motion day and sitting for 4 hours, which the client is getting billed at least some of that time. Now you're just logging on when you're called and when your case is called, and you're prepared, you're doing your argument, you're logging off. The judge can hear way more cases, dispose of them faster. I think that what we are, if the profession seizes on it and really makes the most of it, we will have a better service that we deliver to the litigants. We'll be better lawyers, they will be better served, and they will pay less for it. That's my hope.
It's happening now. I guess the big question is, will it kind of like unravel once the pandemic passes by? I would hope not. It seems like this is a really good use of technology and a really good use of skill set and time.
Yeah, and I would hope that the clients, the litigants, really advocate for this. That they say, we don't want to go back to sending our lawyers across the country for a 15-minute scheduling conference.
Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. All right. Well, you mentioned relatively new managing partner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's exciting. So, you inherited the firm. I'm sure you have some ideas of your own. What are your general growth plans for the next, say, 5, maybe even 10 years from now?
We, like most firms our age, the firm goes back to the 30s. And like most firms our age, it had a big expansion of services and lawyers in the 80s with as the boomers sort of matured into partners, and they're retiring, and they're retiring quickly. And so there is a real pressure to replace them, to put newer skilled people in to serve those clients. So we have those sort of targeted lateral hires that we're doing all the time. We have another one starting at the beginning of May. But those are just like Alice in Wonderland. You're running as fast as you can to stay in the same place. Real growth is going to come, I think, from combinations, and you're seeing it in the industry after a bit of a pause in 2020 because no one knew no one knew anything. Right? Everyone was a little paralyzed. I think you're going to see more combinations, and you're going to see combinations among mid-sized firms as they band together to keep from getting swallowed up or have their clients swallowed up by multinational firms. You're going to see more of that. We're investigating those opportunities as well.
Interesting. Okay. So is that acquisition we're talking about, or merging?
Both. So acquisitions of boutique firms with practice areas that we want, instead of trying to hire one person and trying to get them to grow the practice, maybe try to move that along faster by bringing in a boutique firm.
Nice.
Boutiques, having cut my teeth in one, when things are going well, boutiques are great. They're highly profitable because they're so laser focused. when things are not going well, boutiques really suffer because there's no wind in the sails and there's nobody else to row. So right now we are looking at a few boutiques and contacting them to see how how they're doing. If
Yeah.
they've got an appetite for maybe arbitraging out some of their risk with a more general practice firm, but one that's still small enough that allows them the flexibility with their fees and the flexibility in the way they do their work. So that's one type of thing that I think we're all looking at. And then on the other side is more of the merger, the merger of equals, or the acquisition of larger firms, where you're looking now in a boutique. You're really looking, I think, to strategically at a practice area. With a merger, maybe you're looking at geographic footprint, or maybe a firm that's similar to yours, but you can deepen everybody's bench. So that I think is high on everybody's list right now.
Nice. I think that's smart. We're doing something similar here, which is just keeping in communication with others in the marketing industry, and just seeing how everyone's doing. And there could be opportunities that pop up. Someone may raise their hand and say, "Hey, we're struggling. We need help." And if not, that's fine too, right? It's just a good idea to keep in communication and see how things are
Yeah, that's
going and
right.
progressing.
That's right, and it's a lot of just talking and checking in on people, conversations we may have had a couple of years ago,
Yep.
and seeing how they're doing.
Yeah, totally agree. Cool. Is there a particular marketing strategy that you have tried that's really worked well for you to get the attention of your ideal prospects, businesses?
Well, I'm hoping podcasts.
Yeah, this is the first of many for you.
Uh, we've been very much a face-to-face, in-person business development. Partners go out, they meet people, and they share their expertise on a small scale, and then sort of grow that way. One thing that I think is really useful, and that I'm encouraging my team to do, is to write and publish. Not just client alerts, because those go to your existing clients, but try to find what your clients read. Having spoken to a few publishers, there's a lot of demand on the publishing side for good content. And if you can write something that is, high level enough to get someone interested, but still detailed enough to be useful, you can get that in front of your clients, so that they maybe think of you as, you're maybe top of mind when they have that issue.
Mm-hmm.
I've written articles that are published in European legal journals because the lawyers who read those are likely to need to refer cases when they have issues in the U.S. So I'm encouraging my team to take. I tell the emerging stage partners, the early stage partners, if you touch an issue 2 or 3 times, you've got the research sitting there. Just put it together. If you sent basically the same email to 3 clients, you probably have 3/4 of your paper done.
Yeah, you're right. It's just a matter of finessing it, right?
Right. Just take it, clean it up, put it into a clear and coherent form, and then figure out where to send it. And it's a great way to reach out to your clients, to call them and say, "Hey, I've got this article I'm working on. I was wondering, here's the topic. I think it's something that you'd be interested in. What do you read?"
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, it's an excuse to have a meaningful touch with the client, where you're talking with them about something of interest to them.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned getting published, right? Having those articles in a publication. I would say also take those articles, put them on your website.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
and then take little snippets and put them out on social media and try to get people to drive back to your website, right?
Yeah, I have used firms in very specialized niche areas that I learned about because I read material that they published on their website, or published in journals, that I thought demonstrated that they had a real handle on some issue. And when I needed that issue, that's been my first call.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, very cool. Hey, I appreciate it. Hey, I have one more question for you. I see 2 guitars in the background. I'm guessing you're a guitar player.
Um, one's a banjo, one's a guitar. The black one is an Epiphone that was so reluctant to have me play it during the pandemic that at some point it more or less committed suicide by retracting its patch cord jack to where I can't even plug in anymore. So
Oh boy.
one of these weekends I'm going to have to open up the back panel and fix that. The banjo is something that I doodle around with a little bit. I just think it's a great instrument, and I like fiddling around with it a little bit. I don't know if my family agrees that that's a great way to spend my time.
To unwind, right? That's funny. Well, cool, Andy. Hey, I appreciate your time. What is a good way for people to get in touch with you?
Easiest way is email. It's Corea, Acorea at murthalaw.com. And I'm always happy to set up a call after an exchange of emails.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much. And for anyone who's watching, if you are interested in stepping up your law firm marketing, please consider Array Digital. You can find out more about us at arraylaw.com. All right, Andy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. Had a great time.
All right. This is the first of many for you.